Yeah, really. Okay, we're going to continue Be'ezer Hashem, a few more lines over here in the Cholzu, and then we're going to continue in the Siman Aleph. Hopefully we'll finish the Siman Aleph the way to the Sefer over here. Omnam klala seinin hu dehine midin hu lashin modin umeriva. The whole idea of midin means to fight, to hate, to fight, to make problems, to fight one with another. That's how we call it in the Klippas midin. This is the whole idea of the Klippa of midin. Shua pirut va'is the idea of separating, of separation of between Yidden. Who sinas chinam upirut alavavis. This is hating someone for no reason and the separating of the hearts. This is just the opposite of the side of Gedusha. The idea of Gedusha is Achdus Davka. Okay, so this is the general difference between, and the main difference between Gedusha and Sitra Achra. The Bekdusha B'chinas Achdus. וזהו כל עיקר הייחוד, השם הוויה, שהוא מבחינת הייחוד והאיסקללוס, בחוכם ומידס דקדושה חולו. וגם שהם מבחינת עשר ספירס, מייחד ומידס חולו, מכל מקום, הם מבחינת ייחוד והאיסקללוס לגמרי. So even though Shem Havaya is Yud Kei Vav Kei Yud is Chochma, he's Bina Vav is the Midas, he's Malchus, nevertheless, everything is one. It's Achdus. הם מבחינת ייחוד והאיסקללוס לגמרי, שזהו עניין השם הוויה, שכוללים ומייחדים לי מבחינת ייחוד לגמרי. So Kedusha is Yichud, one, even though it has many different things, but it's everything gets along, everything is one. That's the idea of Kedusha. Klippa, v'shedishin in a klippa, the heiberze, b'chinas apidut v'yischalkus davka. Klippa is just the opposite idea of separation, to make separation. That's the idea of Klippa. So that's why it says by Midian to take Nikamas Havaya, to take the Kama of Havaya, because they were fighting, they're going against Havaya, they're fighting unity. And that's the whole idea of Moshe Rabbeinu, to bring Achdus.
Fighting separation
by making unity. And who needs to do it? Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's the idea of Nikamas Havaya b'Midian, because they were fighting Shem Havaya. So this is Nekom of Shem Havaya. Shem Havaya shows an Achdus. They were fighting Achdus. Okay. Here, if you want, you can look inside. Page Tezayin.
So the saying this is a tuffle for the Iker. That's what people are learning. That's what it says.
Okay, we learned in the Sikha earlier, the Rebbe said, the Rebbe was Medayik in the Lashon of the Rambam. The Rambam says that in Parshas Bilam, there's a Nevuah about the two Mashiachs. Two Mashiachs. The first Mashiach, which is David, that saved the Yidden Beyatzarem, and the Mashiach, the last Mashiach, that's going to get up from David HaMelech's kids. Page Tezayin. Now, so the Rebbe's Madayik, we learned over here in the Sikha, the Rebbe explained why does the Rambam say the first Mashiach is David and the last Mashiach is Melech HaMashiach, because the Rambam wants to tell you that what is Mashiach? Mashiach is a continuation to David. What did David do? David brought to the completion of Torah and mitzvahs, the first Yid, that's why he's the first Mashiach, who's going to complete this job to bring Torah and mitzvahs to its completion once again. And forever, this is going to be Melech HaMashiach. Now the Rebbe is going to say a couple of more diyukim. This I brought from other sikhs, other places, where the Rebbe is Matayik, this diyuk, why the Rambam calls him David the first Mashiach, and Melech HaMashiach the last Mashiach, that gets up from David HaMelech's kids, to emphasize this Nekudah, but in other aspects. Over here, the Rebbe's main emphasis was in the idea of Torah and mitzvahs. David brought the completion of Torah and mitzvahs. He brought the possibility to do all the 613 mitzvahs, which till David HaMelech, they were not able to do it. And Melech HaMashiach is coming to bring that back. Now the Rebbe is going to say, so too is in the idea of Malchus, of making the Eibishter a king over the whole world. That David HaMelech started it off, and Melech HaMashiach is going to complete this idea to make the Eibishter a king over the whole world. And also, in a more general point, that David HaMelech saved the Yidden. The Bilam is saying in a general nevuah about the Yidden being saved, Yidden being redeemed, Yidden being nivosha, Yidden being the salvation of the Jewish people. So this started off by David, and the completion is by Melech HaMashiach. So there's 3 points. There's bringing Torah and mitzvahs to David started off to bring the Shleimus Atei B'mitzvah, and Mashiach is going to complete it. To save the Yidden in general from all the tzodas, David started off, and Melech HaMashiach is going to complete it. And in making the Eibishter a king, David HaMelech started it off, and Melech HaMashiach is going to complete it. Okay, Yud Zayin. V'akesher la'shaylo, b'siv gimel v'heilom, okay, so v'rama b'shnei HaMashiachim. Lei, okay, this Mashiach Achar, and Elegam Mashiach Harishon Shu David. Sheshes Yisrael Miyad Tzadayim. The Rambam emphasizes that in Parshas Bilam there's a nevuah not only about the last Mashiach that's going to come, that's the Ikar. We should know that Melech HaMashiach is going to come. Why does the Rambam emphasize also that David is the first Mashiach that saved the Yidden from the hands of those that made them problems? Shamadgish Melech HaMashiach u Mashiach ha'acharein shemed mibonav shel David HaMashiach Rishon shemashiach Yisrael b'achareina. Emphasizes that Melech HaMashiach is the last one that's going to come up in continuation to David HaMelech being the first Mashiach. So the Rebbe says, we can add a little more explanation. This is from a mimer of the Rebbe. The Rebbe says like this: who the reason that David is called the first Mashiach, that he should call in Yonim Sheyiyu Alidei Melech HaMashiach. Mashiach ha'acharein has chalosim hois al dei David Mashiach Rishon. Why does the Rambam call David the first Mashiach? Because the Rambam is coming to tell you that anything that Melech HaMashiach is going to do, all the inyanim that Melech HaMashiach is going to do, it already started off through David HaMelech. David HaMelech started everything Melech HaMashiach is going to do. That's why he calls him Mashiach Rishon. Ela sha'gamar v'ashleimit shalahem yi al yidei Mashiach acharein she'emet mibonim shel David. Just, it's going to be completed, and it's going to come to its Shleimus. This is going to be done through the last Mashiach that gets it from his kids. And let's see in the footnote 81. The Pizish Lafai, the Gamma Pinish, because of Podim Shalom Nafshi, the Pashtas who should have done Marazala Badia Shalai, Kabaishu Baila Mazet, Shabadia Zu, he Bishon, the Pazik Podim Shalom Nafshi, who said it, David HaMelech, that David HaMelech was redeemed from those that made him tzaris. So he said, Podim Shalom Nafshi, I was salvation, I had my salvation, I was redeemed with Shalom. Says the Rebbe asks, so tzarich lahavin akesher of our shaychus, the apirish shabbat ma'amid the bermaskal pada b'shalom lad merem tzoyi, shnit b'sivrei shayri kuvar shemafarish shazeh shalom David pada b'shalom nafshi kol nefesh David k'may shil asid lavi. The middle Rebbe says this pasuk pada b'shalom nafshi. David HaMelech is saying this after the Gula comes. This is going on the nefesh of David HaMelech after the Gula midis v'ashleima. After Mashiach comes, we're going to be in Yemesa Mashiach. David HaMelech says this pasuk Padim B'Shalom Nafshi. The Cha'ira says the Rebbe, how could you connect this pirush of David HaMelech saying it when Mashiach comes to the simple pirush of this pasuk that who said it? David HaMelech said it in the time of David HaMelech said it many years ago. How could you connect the simple meaning that when David HaMelech was redeemed was Padim B'Shalom Nafshi to the finish of the middle Rebbe that is going on Mashiach? Is it going on Mashiach or is it going on David HaMelech? According to what we said inside is understood. The Pirish Divrei Arama Mashiach Harishon. Shu David Mashiach Achron Shem and Bibonov. The Zeh Shu David Nikra B'Shem Mashiach Harishon Who? If you should call Lain Yanim Shu Adei Melech HaMashiach Mashiach Achron as Chalos Ma'is Ali David Mashiach Harishon. Ala Shagmar Vashleim Shalom Yadei Mashiach Achron Shem and Bibonov Shel David. What did we say inside of here? That anything that Melech HaMashiach is going to do in the future, everything already started off through David. So too, Padim B'Shalom Nafshi, that's done through Melech HaMashiach. Who started it off? David. Anything that Melech HaMashiach is going to do, it already started off through David. This is what the Rambam says, the first Mashiach, which is David. Why is he coming to say that? To let you know anything that Melech HaMashiach is going to do already started once upon a time through David. How could you connect Says the Rebbe explains two pirushim. The pirush are portion of Padim B'Shalom Nafshi that's going on David. The way it's Bizman Hazeh, the way David was already redeemed, B'Sholim in the past, but the Piddush of the Middle Rebbe is going on David, the way it's going to be when Mashiach comes. That what does B'Sholim mean? Padim B'Sholim, that all his enemies become bottle, and not only all his enemies become bottle, like that. He's redeemed in a peaceful way. He doesn't need to fight with his enemies. All his enemies become battles. That's how he's redeemed. And even more than that, they become his friends. They become his oyavim. They come to love him. This is going on Moshiach. But this already started off through David HaMelech. But by David, it was Bepinimius, it was Mahelim, and it's going to be revealed through Melech HaMashiach. So this is a word that the Rebbe in a Maimer, and a part of B'Shalom Maimer, the Rebbe brings the Rambam to explain the two Pirushim in part of B'Shalom Nafshi, so going on David or Melech HaMashiach, that whatever is going to be by Melech HaMashiach is already by David. Okay, now back inside. So too, the Rambam emphasizes that Melech HaMashiach has in himself three inyanim. And all these three inyanim that are by Melech HaMashiach, it started off by David and it's going to be completed through Melech HaMashiach. The first inyan is Aleph HaMashiach Yisrael Mi'atzareim. He's the one that saves the Yidden from the hands that make them pain. That David started off and Mashiach is completing it. Beis, the second inyan is Melech HaMashiach. Mashiach is called the King Mashiach over here. But Malchus Yisrael, Shu Malchus Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In being a melech on the Yidden, the kingdom of the Yidden, which this is the malchus of the Eibishter, to make the Eibishter a king over the Yidden and over the world. Gimel, Havas Shleimus HaTeirah VaMitzvah VaHalacha VeShleimus Kima, to bring the completion of the Teirah, of the mitzvahs, of the halachas, and the completion in fulfilling it. Now the Rebbe is going to explain these three things. Aleph, Yeshuas Yisrael Miyatzareh, the redeeming of the Yidden from the hands of those that made them pain. Hadgosh about Shaykhut Shom Melech HaMashiach. Acharin HaMashiach Rishon Shu David Lo David Melech HaMashiach. Why does the Rambam emphasize that Melech HaMashiach is the last one from the first one, which is David? Who? The reason is key. The Rambam Lefi Biur Rambam Sheshom Libo Al Kulolus Tikumasom Yeshuasom Oasido Bavoi Al De Malchus Shom Melech Mashiach Hashem. The Rambam learns. This is all Sikha the Rebbe. In the way Rashi learns the Nevuah of Bilam and the way the Rambam learns the Nevuah of Bilam. So the Rebbe says over there that the Rambam learns the Nevuah of Bilam, that Bilam is saying the general Nevuah, how Yidden in Golus are down. And he's saying the Nevuah about the general Indian of the Yidden being uplifted, how the Yidden being saved in general. This is what Bilam is saying. And Bilam is saying the beginning of the Nevuah, so it started off by David. The Rambam has to emphasize that it's one Nevuah, it's one Indian, that it starts off by David and it comes to its Shleimus through Mashiach. This is why the Rambam emphasizes that Bilam says in Nevuah about the two Mashiachs. B'Mashiach Harishon, Shu David Shayshia Es Yisrael Miyatzareyim. What does the Rambam say? He saved the Yidden from the hands of Medem Tzar. Who started it off, David? Over Mashiach Achron Shemed Mibonov Shemishiach Yisrael B'Achreinu. And the last Mashiach that's going to get it from his kids. It's a continuation to what David started off. That he'll save the Yidden in the end of days. So that's the first in saving the Yidden from those that made them pain. So it's one of war, and it started off by David, and it gets completed through Melech HaMashiach. The second in the Rebbe says, he said about Malchus, and the idea of making the Eibishter a king. Iker HaMalchus, Malchus based David. The Rambam writes in Achas Malachim, that is Malachim from all the Shvatim, but the Iker HaMalchus, the main idea of being a king, is Shaykh Tafket David HaMelech and the David HaMelech's kids, the Zera David. So what's the idea of David HaMelech being a king? This is to make the Eibishter a king over the whole world. David HaMelech conquered, he finished off that conquered the whole Eretz Yisrael. He took it away from the Goyim. Until he came to a matzav that he made, that all the Shvatim were, that it was a Shleimus of Malchus right away in the beginning, just like it was in the continuation in the days of Shleima. The Goyim came and brought presents to Shleima. No, but he finished conquering by, it brought the leader up to the way it was in the times of Shleima. Shalidei Malchus based David, and Yigili Malchus HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'elam. Through Malchus based David, Abishter was a king in the world. It wasn't only a king over just the Jewish people, but it affected the Goyim. By David, it's al derech what we learned last week, that there's two inyanim by Moshiach. There's the idea of Milchama, and then there's the idea of a Yasakin Esalim, idea of fighting against their desire, and then there's that they themselves want it. So by David, it was mainly an idea of Milchama, and by Shlomo, it was even more, it was an idea of Ishabcha, like it's explained in many Maimorim, the Padam B'Shalom Maimorim, that even Malchus Shva brought Matanis. So this is what the Rebbe brings over here. That so you're making the Eibishter a king over the whole world. The Rebbe is Messiah in the order. So David made the Eibishter a king over the whole world. He conquered the whole Eretz Yisrael by Shlomo HaMelech. It was even more that he made the Goyim accept the Eibishter as a Melech. The completion of this Indian that started off already through David HaMelech will be completed through Melech HaMashiach, which the Rambam calls him Shu Mashiach HaAcharin, the last Mashiach. Why is the Rambam saying that? To let you know that it started off already through David. This idea started off, and Melech HaMashiach is going to complete this same Indian. Hanikra Melech mi Beis David. He's called the king from the house of David to emphasize this idea of what's Malchus Beis David, like we just said, to make the Eibishter a king over the whole world. Why does the Rambam call him to bring out this Nekuda? Why is he calling him Melech Beis David? To show that he's going to make the Eibishter a king over the whole world. Bevis Mashiach Tzidkeinu she'oz tizgal Malchusei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'elam Kulei. Hein bo Maseilam she'yasaken Eseilam Kulei Avdas Hashem B'Yachid, like we said before. Yes, Mashiach is going to fix the whole entire world to serve the Eibishter. So David did mainly fought wars and won over wars, but he affected the Goyim. Mashiach is going to affect the Goyim in the most complete way, that the whole world is going to be fixed and serve the Eibishter. The Eibishter is going to change the language of all the nations. They're going to speak a clear language, which means Lashon HaKodesh, Ulavdi Shechem Echad, and to serve the Eibishter, to serve the Eibishter. It says many nations of the world will tell one another, let's go up to the Haravayis, basically to the house of the Eibishter of the Yidden. And Melech HaMashiach will teach us from the ways of the Torah, and we're going to go in his ways. Says, so what do we see? That by Melech HaMashiach is going to be the shleimus of making the Eibishter a king over the whole entire world, and all Amim Rabim, many nations from the whole world are going to go to the Harabayis, to the Eibishter. Not only in all the nations, but by Mashiach it's even deeper and even more, all the creations of the world. It says that all the animals will not do bad, and they will not, they won't vandalize. Why? What's the reason? The going, the animals themselves, the reason that they won't do bad is because they will accept the Eibishter als Melech. Like we're going to learn later on, the Rebbe asks, what's the connection of Molaretz Deis Havayik to Lo Yarei V'Lo Yishchisu B'Chol Harakachi? This that all the animals are not going to make a problem. What does it have to do with Molaretz Deis Hashem? So the Rebbe explains. It says, Yoda Shoir Koineyu V'Chamoir Eivis Malav. Animals have deya. It says a shul is a pikach shabachai. So shul is the smartest from all the animals, which means that all the animals have a certain pikhus to a certain level, but this is the most pikach from all. So animals have an idea of knowledge. In the Geula, even the animals are going to know the Eibishter. They're going to know the Eibishter. An animal knows, whatever. Like you can see, people speak to dogs, and you see to their pets, and it listens. They have a shtickle. And they're not of brick. They're not nothing. They were trained. But this thing you could train them is they have a shtickle das. Yoda shuri koineyu v'chamer eivis balav. So the Rebbe brings it from a mind of the Rebbe Marash, that when the Gula is going to come, the whole world is going to be filled with Deis Hashem, and even animals are going to be filled up with Deya. And because they're going to be filled up with Deya, therefore they're going to stop to to fight one with another. So the Rebbe is saying the Melech HaMashiach is going to make the Eibishter a Melech over every person in the world and every creature in the world, every being in the world. So David started it off by Goyim, by David it was Shlomo, it was even more. By Melech HaMashiach, it's going to be by all the nations, the whole world, and even with all the creatures and creations. Now, the third in what we learned now in deep length is about Shleimus HaTeirah. It's Gimel Avoid, Shleimus HaTeirah, V'Amitzvah, V'Halacha, Shleimus Kiyum, a little bit of Zabaruch. Like we learned very long, this whole idea of Mashiach is going to bring Shleimus HaTeirah, V'Amitzvahs, is going to be bring the completion and fulfillment of Teirah Mitzvahs that David started it off. This is why the Rambam emphasizes that in Parshas Bilam it says in Avur not only about Melech HaMashiach in the future, but even more than that, Ela b'shnei HaMashiachim, b'Mashiach HaRishon Shu David, b'Mashiach HaAcharon Shemed Mibanov. The Rambam emphasizes that it's two Mashiachs. There is a first Mashiach also, which is David, and Melech HaMashiach is the last one that gets up from David HaMelech's kids that started it off. The Rambam also emphasizes that Melech HaMashiach comes from David HaMelech's descendants. Why? Ki Melech HaMashiach eini eimed lifel inin chodesh ela lahashlim kol ha'inyanim she'izchilu kvar bizman David. Melech HaMashiach is not coming to do anything new over here. He's not coming to revolutionize anything. He's coming to bring back what was once upon a time in the days of David. Lahachzir Malchus David leyoshna. Like the Rambam says. No, that's not the main reason. No, that's under the word. The Rebbe mentions it. The Rebbe does mention it, but the Rebbe says not. That's not the main reason. That's to know what the Mashiach's Geder is. When you know, yes, the Rebbe does mention that it makes it easier to believe. This thing was, so it makes it easier to believe. But the Rebbe says that's not the only reason. The Rebbe is coming when you know that Melech HaMashiach is the Rebbe asks, why isn't Moshe the first Mashiach? When you know that David is the first Mashiach, now you can understand what Melech HaMashiach is. He's coming to do what David did. He's coming to complete what David started off. This is one goal, one idiom that David started off, and Melech HaMashiach is coming to be marshal in this, not to make it easier to believe. This is Pashut being Mavar. What's the Edom Geder of Mavar? What's the Etzem Geder of Mashiach? What is Mashiach? David number 2. Mashiach HaAcharon from the Mashiach HaRishon. When you say David is Mashiach number 1, so now I know. So what's Melech HaMashiach? Is David number 2? Nicht Moshe Rabbeinu, nicht Shaul, nicht dem, nicht jener. Nicht jener Tzadik. Why is Mashiach Semanim nicht zu sein Novi? Because nicht das ist sein Uftu. Sein Uftu is to be David number 2. To be Mashlim what David started off. The Rebbe does mention this word in the Bilti Muge. This is the beer. It's interesting. This is the beer. What you said. But in the Muge, the Kesicha, the Rebbe says you can't say that the Rambam is only coming here to be Machazik the Amunah. Because it's not the matter of the Rambam over here to be Machazik Amunah. The Rambam is coming in the Sefer Halachas to say what is the Halachic Geder of Mashiach. What is this Doigeya to know that David is a Mashiach? The first Mashiach, when you get to Mavar, the Etzem Geder of Mashiach. Because when you know what David is, La Ashura, you know what David is. You know that he's the first Mashiach. So you know, so Melech HaMashiach is a Hemshich to David HaMelech. Who Mashiach HaAcharon Shel HaRishon, Mashiach HaRishon Shu David. He's the last Mashiach from the first one, which is David, that he was the first Mashiach. Okay, Hadran Allah, Siman Aleph, B'taitan Allah, Baruch Shamar Ha'olam B'prati V'chlali. Now we're going to learn 7 base. We're going to start it off at least. This is a very, very Geshemaka, classical Sikha the Rebbe. And the Rebbe mentions this Sikha many, many, many times. Throughout the Nesiyas, the Rebbe quotes, these Biyurim over here. The Rambam writes, who's going to build the third Beis HaMikdash? Melech HaMashiach is going to build the Beis HaMikdash. But we know, you guys say Az Yashir every day. We say in Az Yashir, Mikdash Adonai Koinen Yodecha. The Mikdash of the Eibishter that you prepared with your hands. And Rashi says on this pasuk in Parshas Bashalach that the Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash is more choviv to the Eibishter more than Shamayim Varetz, more than the heavens and earth. Why? Because the heavens and earth, the Eibishter built made with one hand. But the Beis Hamikdash, it says, Koinu Yodacha, you made it with two hands. That the third Beis Hamikdash, the Eibishter builds it in Shamayim, and it's going to come down built from Shamayim. So L'choyre, we have a contradiction over here. Who's going to build the third Beis Hamikdash? Is Malach HaMashiach going to build the third Beis Hamikdash? Or is the third Beis Hamikdash going to come built? Higale v'yovi min hashamayim. So the Rebbe says, Simon Beis HaMelech HaMashiach bein HaMikdash. Okay. Pasuk HaRambam Reish Perik Yedalef Bilchas Malachim. Zeh l'shoynei. HaMelech HaMashiach hasid lami to lahachzer Malchus Beis David l'yoshna lamemshala rishayna beina HaMikdash HaMakabetz nit Yisrael. Hainu shemelech HaMashiach yivnes Beis HaMikdash l'lasit. The Rambam says in the beginning of Perik Yedalef, HaMelech HaMashiach is going to get up, he's going to bring back the Malchus Beis David the way it was in the olden times, and he's going to build a Beis Hamikdash. He's going to build a Beis Hamikdash. Okumekin pasuk sham b'sefer perek. V'makom b'meina es simoni Mashiach v'adai. Zel l'shoyrim osavi tzliach v'nitzach kol homitz shesvivov v'barna mikdash b'mkoymei v'kibetz nitchei Yisrael l'reizah Mashiach b'vadai. So too, in the end of the Perek Aleph, when the Rambam says the signs of Mashiach, he says he's going to build a Beis Hamikdash. Now the Rebbe says, what's the source? This is according to Mamar Chazal in Yerushalmi and in Midrashim. Okay, the Mashiach is going to build a Beis Hamikdash. Udo moitzim Chazal de Shniyo ben Gel ben Hamikdash the Losi that should born you musuchlu yegal yovi mishamayim shramar mikdash adne koinen yodach. We find in Chazal another opinion. Who's going to build the future Beis Hamikdash? That it's already, Rashi and Tosfos says that the Beis Hamikdash is already built in Shamayim. It's going to come down built from Shamayim. Like it says, Mikdash Adon L'Koyin Liyadecha. They came because of Rashi, the Tosfos, Hu Api Mamar Chazal, the Midrashim and Zohar. What's the source? Specific Midrashim and Zohar. So now the Rebbe has, in general, 4 explanations to be matavich, but in more detailed, it's 6 explanations. And Be'ezer Hashem, we'll see how much we can learn now. Okay, we could make a tivuch to show these 2 things are not a contradiction, but they could be, but we could work them both out. The first explanation, Aleph, ala pasuk tovu ba'aretz shareh. There's a pasuk in Eicha. It says that the gates, the doors of the Beis Hamikdash were sunk in the earth. So Chazal say, Amr Chazal, Shari Beis Hamikdash b'mkoyman and nignazu shneimar tovu ba'aretz chulu. The doors, the gates of the Beis Hamikdash were buried, they were sunk in to the same place in the Harabais. V'yeshleimar shabeis Hamikdash yered min hashamayim. Aval adulosay shetovu ba'aretz shehein hayu b'dei yadom yalu v'yizgalu v'yamidu mimkoymam ha'mayim edad losis nechshav kilu b'noi kuloi. Says the Rebbe that the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi, the whole building of the Beis Hamikdash, everything besides for the doors of the Beis Hamikdash, is going to come down built from Shamayim. This is what Rashi says, what Tosfos says, what the Zohar says, what the Midrashim says. That's the whole Beis Hamikdash is going to come down built from Shamayim, straight down from Shamayim. But the doors of the Beis Hamikdash, that which is buried in the ground, that Melech HaMashiach and the Yidden are it's going to be revealed that they're going to put on the doors. And the halacha is that the halacha is, the Rebbe brings it from Baba Basra. Look in page Yutes, Ha'arif 14 in the Pianuach. Omer Avanachem and Omer Rava Baravua. Haboina palter in Gdoilim. A guy builds a huge palaces, Benichsei Ageir, in the possessions of a Geir. Obo Acher v'hemid land losses, and one other guy comes in and he just puts on doors to this massive palace that some guy builds. Kona, the guy that puts up the doors, he's kind of the whole thing and it belongs to him. The whole entire thing belongs to him as if he built the whole thing. And the guy that built the whole thing, you tell him bye-bye.
But who makes it happen?
Or whatever. Yeah. Okay, my timer. No, it could be it could be that the guy was born from the nechasim of the gate itself, not from his eigen nechasim. Benichsei hageir, so maybe you pay him for his work, but not for the nechasim.
Who makes the house?
My time, Papashas, it's going on. Let's say a palace of a gate, and one guy comes and he sets up the walls and he does a lot of carpentry. He does a lot of work over there. and someone else comes and he just puts up the doors. The guy that puts up
But
the
who
doors,
makes a house?
he's
Who makes
Is
a
it
house
a
without a
worker?
doors? There's workers at the door.
there wasn't a door for whatever reason. There wasn't doors, so a guy goes. One guy
They,
comes.
they don't have the real doors now. They have temporary doors.
What? Where?
It's the building. Not the real doors.
Like about to get outside.
It's not, no, there's no building. They have these temporary doors. It
Oh.
doesn't look like they're gonna make nice doors, right?
But a guy that has no Yorushim. A guy has no Yorushim. So a guy comes and he paints the walls and he does this and he brings carpenters to do this and that. In order to be coin or something, you have to make a change in the place. A guy does so many things. One guy comes and he just puts up the doors. The guy that puts up the doors, it's as if he's coining the whole building. And he says, my timer, come how do you consider someone owning a thing? As if he built the whole thing, is the guy that puts up the door. Says that episode with the Beis Hamikdash. When the Beis Hamikdash, the whole Beis Hamikdash is going to come down built from Shamayim. But through this, the Melech HaMashiach is going to put on the doors to the Beis Hamikdash. This is considered as if he built the whole entire Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. So when the Rambam says Mashiach Boina Hamikdash, by him putting up the doors, you can consider it as if he built the whole Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. Okay, the next thing I'll say about Peh, we're going to learn it inside. The Rebbe says, make it kinyan.
He made a kinyan. It's not he built it. He just
Makes the kinyan in the Beit HaMikdash. But the Rebbe's lashon over here is nechshav keilu b'noi kuloi. The Rebbe brings
how did you see that
from Abayda Benechse Aker, yeah.
after he's trained it how? But bring up the door, he's trained it.
Was mit my time a camel? Give me the armor who the apich. Was mit the apich? Was mit the apich?
Kama, the first guy, Livni Ba'almud, the first guy is just building.
Was mit the apich?
From what I remember, he's just like moving stuff around. He's not considered like he's making a kinyan in the thing. I remember when I looked into this Ba'avad, it's not as if he made it. But I remember it's like he's
Abish committee night, so I think we have to.
yeah. Okay, think it is the Beis Hamikdash should be built taken from the Yad Mamish.
That's
The cameras, no?
You're saying Mishukhalal Mitzadad for it.
That was Oxford.